Greetings one and all, this is Lloyd Brown. Welcome social media family to Lloyd Brown Music, and today yet another random video, and it's all about balancing vocals, because guess what, vocals are my forte, you know what I'm saying? Vocals are the most important aspect of 95-98% of music that basically comes out, with the exception of instrumentals and versions. Obviously, if you want to hear what the song is about, you got to go with the vocal, right? So the vocals are the most important thing for me. They've got to sit in the mix, and not only like the lead vocals, but the backing vocals have got to have their place as well. The one thing that I always do when I treat backing vocals is simply give them a different texture than the lead vocals, because backing vocals are exactly that. Backing vocals are there, the lead vocals are there, and the backing vocals can be anywhere from there to there as a group, or there to there as a group, or there to there as a group, depending on how you pan the vocals. But for me, vocals are all about texture and enhancing the lead vocal, and in turn enhancing the song and what the song is basically about. I'm going to feature the same track that I featured in the last video, which is I Would Be a Fool by Shade Aman, and I've got the section right here, and it goes a little something 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 like this. Now some would just be happy with that, but for me, I hear a lot more when it comes to BVs and where I want them placed and what have you, because at the moment all of the vocals are dead center, which is where I don't really want them all to be. What I need to do, I need to establish which pitch I'm putting where, and I do have a formula for that. It's not a hard and fast rule as to where I put certain particular tones of vocals. It can differ for everybody, you know what I mean? But this is the way how I do it, all right? So before I even go into that, I need to kind of match the vocals up with a level of the track that is the most prominent, and that is basically the drums. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually feature the drums. This is what we now got. And that's a nice template for me to work with, all right? So now I've got to establish which vocals is going where, all right? So if I take out all of the vocals and figure out which vocals I'm going to put in the center, so let's just see which is the root note. That's the note right there. Okay, so that's going to basically be in the center. All right, so what we need to do, we need to establish the level of each of the vocals before we put the drums back in. And again. So it's around -25. I think that's a decent level. All right. Okay, so let's go to Sade's third harmony. Okay, that's not too bad. It's around the same. Okay, let's try this one. Right, already I can see it's too high, so I'm going to bring it down. And there's two ways I can do that. I can either do that via the EQ and bringing the pre-gain down, or I can actually just take down the level by manually adjusting the event. All right. Right, so let's bring it down there, and let's just see what levels that's at. Right, if you can hear a rumbling, that wasn't the vocals, that was a motorbike just basically driving past. All right, so let's just try that again. Let's try that again real quick. Okay, I don't want it exactly sitting at 25, but I need it at that kind of region. Do you know what I mean? Let's have a listen to this. Okay, we've got that done. Let's go with that one. No, we've got that done. Okay. And the next one should be this one. Okay, well, down to my experience, I already know where these harmony lines need to go in terms of the spectrum, how far they need to pan from each other, and where they should basically be placed. All right, so I'm just going to show you how I do it. Now, because it's a 4-part harmony, it's kind of different as opposed to a 3-part harmony. Usually, I'll have one in the middle, one on the left, and one on the right. Because it's a 4-part harmony, sometimes you can have the 2 unisons just kind of either close to the middle or both directly in the middle, and you can have the other 2 left and right. Like I said, there's no hard and fast rules as to how to place your harmonies. But before we even get there, we need to treat all of the harmony lines so there's no excess baggage frequencies going on. All right, so let's go back to the first harmony, which is... Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into the editing section and go into the EQ and just basically clean up any excess baggage frequencies that we don't need. All right, so here we go. All right, so at the base frequency of that harmony line is just kind of touching 0 in its own track. All right, does it need any high end taken off? Yeah, I'll take off a little bit, just a little bit. I can actually bring down some mids as well. Widen the Q a lot. Just flatten it a little bit. That's it. You don't need a lot. You don't need a lot of surgical precision, you know what I mean? Because each harmony it's a building block for the whole section. All right, you just need every one of the lines to complement with one another. All right, so let's have a listen to this one. Right, same thing. Take off a little bit of the, cut the low end. Okay, let's bring that down a little bit. I don't want to lose the low end because of the pitch of this harmony as well. But I'll give it a listen again. And because it's a bass harmony of sorts, I need to take out some of the high end of it as well. Okay, temper it down. Flatten the Q. I'm going to listen to that. That sounds fine to me, just as a basic balance. All right. Okay, so next up we got this harmony. Let's have a listen to that. Same process. And because it's a higher frequency, I'm not going to temper it any more than that. All right. All right. Let's have a look at this one here. Same procedure. Okay, and I think this line needs to be the most discreet of all. All right, so let me just take down some of the high pass out of it. That sounds fine to me. You know, some lines just literally need a low pass and a high pass, or low cut, high cut, however you want to call it. Just down to your ears at the end of the day. All right, so let's put all four of them together and let's see what we got. Wow, it sounds like they're almost phased to a degree. But anyway, in order to get a decent section out of it, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this whole section here. I'm going to basically utilize the split tool and take it off the grid so I can freely move without it snapping to any bar or any beat. So I'll just basically take it here. And then what I'll do, I'll just put a fade point there. And then with these 4 blocks of silence, which, trust me, they do add up. They do add up when it's stacked. Okay, right. And then move to the right. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to basically put fades on the ends of this so you don't get no clicks and no pops. All right. Okay, so let's just see how that basically sounds. So you see, with each one having a peak of -25, once they're all stacked together now, you just get -20. You know what I mean? So there's a whole heap of headroom before you even put any plugins onto the vocals. All right. So this is what we're going to do now. Where I need to place the harmonies, right? So the first thing I need to establish basically is the root note, which I think it is. Usually I put the low key to the left and the high key to the right of the root note. That's just the way I do it. You can do it any way you like, but that's just the way I do it, just to keep it uniform in my head and to just give you that trademark Lloyd Brown harmony sound. All right, I'm going to keep this as the root note and put this note, put that on the left. Right, so now we've got that sorted out. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to actually pan this to the left. It's a tradition of mine, and I blame my brethren from Head Rock Productions, Stephen Lashley and Dave Simmons, because when I saw them do that, I thought, okay, I'm going to do that as well. All right, which is that I don't pan them equal to each other. You know, I would pan them 35 to the left, being an odd number. Let me just type that out. L35. And then with the high one, pan that R36. Now you might be thinking, You know, what difference does one point to the right hand side, what difference does that make? Trust me, it makes a bit of difference. It makes a bit of difference to me anyway. To me. All right. Now, with the fourth harmony, I would kind of put it in between L10. Not too far from the center, but not dead on the center. Do you know what I mean? Just to give it some kind of width within the section. All right, so let's hear that. And that sounds fine to me. All right, so the next thing that I need to do is that I need to match it up with the heaviest sound of the track. And usually that is the drums and the bass. So we will have as follows. Okay, because I'm kind of balancing it in my headphones, which I don't normally do. I'm just making it kind of relative to what I hear in the headphones. So you might be hearing it different through whatever speakers you're basically hearing it, through YouTube, whether it be your computer speakers or your headphone speakers or what have you. This is not the final setting in stone, as it were. But for my ears and how I'm hearing the section, it needs to be a little bit more lower to me. All right. So this is how I make sure that everything is basically uniform. So what I need to do, I need to select all of these 4 tracks. So next up, I'm going to add a VCA fader, which is basically a macro fader that can operate multiple faders at the same time. All right. So with these harmonies that I've got here, I'm going to assign all of those harmonies to one VCA fader. So here's the command, VCA fader to selected channels. All right. And I'm going to call this VCA fader VCA BVs. All right. So now when I go into the mix console, so now I've got the mixing desk up. All right. So I'm going to look for the VCA, and here it is. And once I take this fader, I can basically bring down or bring up all of Sade's BVs like this. Okay, so I don't have to be faffing around moving one at any given time. So next up, I'm going to add an effects bus to these vocals as well. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want to keep the body, I want to keep the dry body of the collective vocals and just have the effects, whatever I put on top or underneath, to basically to sit and marry well within the vocals and just not have the vocals obliterated by whatever effects I put on it. All right, so I'm going to use the same selection process, add track, and put effects channel to selected channels. All right, and this way I can select any effects that I want. So I can choose, let me see, let me go for, right, let's go for Rev A, which is a lexicon emulation. All right, so we're going to call this Sade's BVs BVFX. All right, okay, so we've added the track. With that now, I can go in the effects and turn it up or turn it down without turning up or down the volume of the overall BVs. All right, so this is basically separate from the BVs. All right, so let's just take it right down. I need to make sure that it's completely wet here so that you don't get none of the dry signal going through the effects, because that will actually double the volume of your vocals and it will just be one huge mess. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to play the vocals again, completely dry. And this is what we have. Right, so that's completely dry. So now watch when I use the effects bus of those vocals and turn this fader up. Listen to see what happens there. And not only that, I can actually, I can EQ the reverb without EQing the vocals that are basically pre-fader, as it were. All right, so this EQ is just EQing the reverb. All right, so it's the same process as with the vocals, but I'm only affecting the reverb. All right, so listen to it again. Now that sounds a little bit too thick. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring this up so I can operate the low cut. So see, it sounds very thin at this point, but I'm just using a drastic example to show you how much I can affect the reverb, the effects that's on the backing vocals without even touching the backing vocals at all, because of the fact that the effects is completely wet. If it wasn't completely wet, it would be mixed or blended in with the dry signal, and then you'll be having the affected dry signal on top of the unaffected dry signal within the four harmonies itself, and that just adds up to a whole bag of knives. You know what I mean? You don't want that. So that's pretty much how I preliminarily stack up my vocals, all right, before I fine tune them and put the effects that I need to put on them, and then in turn balance them out with the instruments. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put the instruments back in and just see how I can balance it out with the entire track. Here we go. So say for example, okay, I'm liking the reverb, I'm liking the way how the reverb is sitting underneath the vocals, but the vocals are a little bit too high. All right, so let's just go into the mix console. Okay, so remember, we can basically affect all of the vocals by just using the one macro fader, as I would like to call it, which is the VCA fader. All right, so let's go into it. Now, to me, that's a nice blend with the keyboards basically plonking away and the backing vocals, and knowing that the lead vocal is going to sit on top of that. It's just giving me a nice spectrum of frequencies to basically play with. Now, like I said, I don't normally balance and mix in my headphones. I'm just doing that so you don't get no feedback from the monitors into the microphone. But that is exactly how I balance my vocals, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And will those dogs stop barking? Can you hear those dogs? Anyway, it's with that, I'm going to bid you guys adieu, and hope everyone is good, everyone is safe, everyone is blessed. Thank you for watching. If you learned something, you don't know the coup already, please smack a like and basically ring the ding-a-ding-a-ding-ding-ding-ding-ding so you get future notification as to any other uploads I put up on my channel. And yeah, once again, thank you for watching. And as always, you don't know the coup. People, please abstain from all kinds of foolishness. And until we link up next time again, stay blessed. I'm out of here, Maganski. Laters.